welcome to Critical Tumble, where a bunch of longtime friends and internet nerds transcend geography to play Dungeons and Dragons and critically fumble a lot. Less that recently, thankfully, because previously, after their travels through the various sections of the Coterie mining tunnels, the navigation of the Salt Gate, and befriending a whole bunch of kobolds, the Cupcake Coterie finally faced the Blue Dragon. They handled it relatively tactically, as much so as they could, when the first thing that happened while one of them was trying to get into position was buried ancient blue dragon, like Jaws. But managed nope, nobody died. Nobody fell unconscious even. Much. But
Why?
for very long. Yeah, okay,
Twice.
fine. Okay, fine. Nobody stayed unconscious for long. We didn't have to use Revivify, Resurrect, or any of the other bullshit we've got kicking around at the moment. So nobody died. This is, to be fair, this is kind of rare with this party when they're fighting something big. And part of the reason for that was, tactical and surprisingly effective use of the confusion spell, and little innovation by one of Hazel's adoptive mothers, which involved somewhat of an inversion of the prismatic wall, which was effectively prismatic goldfish bowl. So, because if the blue dragon did have a spell that could have destroyed this thing, it wasn't behaving like prismatic wall that they could tell. So, yeah, that ended rather well, all things considered. If a couple of people got a little bit toasty and flumped, and Clarity's really going to need to redo her braid because electricity. They started having a look at the spoils of war. They found some interesting bits and pieces after they dealt with the fact that Darvin gave that cheese-eating grin to a practically life-sized speaking statue of Tiamat. Which nearly had the entire fucking temple collapse on your heads until Froseth managed to stick the Blade of Four into approximately where its heart would be and shattered it. So, yeah, that was about where we left things. The plan is to chill overnight, effectively fuck trying to get back through the various bits of tunnel and just teleport there, and given the having to tell people things, wedding related shenaniganry and all the rest of it, it'll probably be about a week, and then you can just teleport to the outskirts of the frozen Aenbuck wastes and start making your way towards Demille and the Silver Vault. One thing LSA does flag up is, one thing that we're probably going to have to do before we leave in the morning is find at least a couple of different rock types to use the rest of those explosives on.
Does any of this stuff in here work?
Some of it would, but I don't know if we want to do demolitions here.
Yeah, it already got broken.
Given the shaky, yeah, I understand.
But also the fact is that, for depending on how tight quarters we're looking at, she taps the chain for. That's only a once a day thing, guys. So.
Well, we know
Right.
we know we have to be well back at least.
Like it might depend. They could be different types of explosives. Some of them may explode. Yeah, one direction. Some of them might the other, and it didn't seem to have any effect on surrounding areas. That's the problem. We don't know.
Given its magical kaboom, it's gonna be magical.
Effectively, I mean, it would have been nice if we had a little bit more in the way of how and in which direction it's going to boom, but we got what we got.
Yeah, there was documentation on the safety clearances, but not documentation on any of the effects. I think that's what we're out here for in the first place.
Yeah, it might depend on the stone type. I don't know. It's a thought. What's everybody's passive perception?
13.
Terrible.
13.
11.
11.
Below skills, if anyone's looking.
12.
There we go. 12.
In which case, it's effectively Furseth who just perks up. None of you hear anything, do you?
Nope. What you getting?
What is it?
Hold on a moment. And pads out of the temple. Is anyone following him?
I'm gonna go
Eh?
after him and watch.
Sure.
You can't make me assume these things. If you're going someplace, you have to tell me you're going someplace. Theater of the mind.
Yeah, I'll follow, but not like right up close. Just
Yeah. At the very far end of where it's actually cliff, there seems to be some scrabbling sounds, and then little claw, kobold head.
Do we recognize this one?
Well, not specifically, because you didn't get that good a look, but, I mean, this is the first time you're seeing any of them in anything remotely like direct light, but it is wearing a bowler hat and, with a pair of goggles, attached. Also, Lindira, we're wearing the same shirt.
Oh. Yay.
nice.
And this is the classic as well. I didn't get the revamped version at some
This
point.
is the newer one.
And this is the older one. So there you go. We span T-shirt generations. Anyway, so yes, it manages to kind of scrabble up.
Hello.
Flat. For anyone who understands Draconic, which is effectively Ava, Darwin, but pointing at the dissected blue dragon. Splat!
Splat.
You don't know. You don't speak Draconic.
I'm saying splat. Pointing.
Splat!
Yep.
And for so there's that. Yes, we killed her.
Oh no.
You keep promises. And first, that's this sort of. Now, and again, this is Draconic for those who understand it. Now, I know you're smart kobolds, and you have some unique skills. We have some explodey things that you have to be far away from, but they need to be put in certain places, and that territory can be yours now because splat. If you could do that and send the results to a very nice lady in closer to Egref, because you have to go there to talk to the shiny dragon. It should. I'm pretty sure that the shinies you'll get from this will cover any cost that we'd have to pass along to you. Boom? Very astute. Yes, boom. How long have you been watching us? You're interesting! Boom! Want to see the boom? Want to see the little black and white thing? How close did you get? I didn't consult with you first. I'm sorry. I didn't want to talk behind his back, but Darvin seemed okay with it, but Darvin seems okay with most ideas that aren't his. Instead of us trying to blow up areas around here, we could just pass that along to the kobolds. They'll owe us several favors by this point anyway. So, and it'll entertain them, I think. Also, it might stop them from potentially worshipping us over, I believe the word they used was splat.
Well, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah,
Clarity,
quite a few
I'm
times.
sure we can get you copies of the notes.
Eventually, yeah. It's interesting.
I know, but think about where we're going.
I know. Just patting down my hair.
Alice is just come here. I've got one of the good Bellerace brushes and experience at braiding hair, though not as much as I used to. That seems to have been outsourced now.
Do they know how to get to?
We talked to them about that, babe. I mean, I know that fighting the dragon probably superseded everything else, but we did discuss that with them, and
Okay.
particularly if they're approaching the mining towns under a flag of truce, they'll be able to. And all roads apparently lead to that little office in Egref down here. This while Alice is undoing Clarity's braid, brush. Funny little anti-frizz spray stuff that smells like figs. Brush. Fairly intricate French braid. Poink. There you go.
Thank you.
That's okay. Sorry, Hazel, I didn't leave it for you to do. But now you've seen how I've done it, so you can probably do it next time.
I have plans.
When we're next in Bellerace, I'll show you where I got the fig stuff. I should try this on your hair.
Is it gonna be able to prevent the detonation?
And then go come here and let's see.
Here we go! Stop.
Spray. Brush. It's still got body, but it falls a little easier. And okay, think of something that makes your hair go nuclear.
Was processing. Brain happened on thoughts of Elven Wild and just
Although not flump. It's weird. It's more, that thing that happens in somewhat cheesy fantasy novels and anime where the hair floats, but it doesn't go. It just.
It just gets more dramatic.
the power glow sort of thing.
Kind of. It's tendrils and but a lot more graceful than. Okay, we're definitely stopping at that shop when we're in Belarus.
And I think
Look at
that's
it.
actually more intimidating than the foomp, as a matter of fact. Wow.
Fluffy is not intimidating for the most part. That's why dune cats are such a problem. They're not intimidating, but they will
Eviscerate
cause
you.
some. If you're lucky.
Pull out your organs through your face.
No, not generally through your face. Particularly for males, they'll tend to start a little lower down, if you get me.
Ew.
Yes! I understand!
Well, you know, particularly bipedal, it's an easy place to reach. Known for the hamstrings, and then yeah. I've
Aw.
heard stories. But yeah, you find the most interesting things cute. Okay.
Little apex predators.
Teeny tiny blenders.
What is a blender?
I overheard it in Egref. I'm not sure either. All I know is that I heard something about stuff and splat. Fruit? Maybe? I don't remember.
So they blend it by turning it into liquid, and liquefier sounds like something you probably don't want in your kitchen.
Yeah. Then, again, given Egref, yeah, they probably tried calling it a liquefier first.
And that probably went over very well in Egref, but not in other places.
So they're rebranding. Oh boy.
Well, you know, if Belarus does enjoy some of Egref's technology. Hey, Ree, you reckon we could bring your parents a blender?
I suppose.
I'm dying.
What exactly a blender is and does.
Well, apparently it reduces things into very small bits and literally blends them. I imagine that if you have like eggs and other bits and pieces, it might help in baking. I bet they have all kinds of baking equipment in Egref that might revolutionize your parents' way of doing business.
I'll make their lives easier at the very least.
True.
You know,
I don't know if they want to revolutionize, but they might find it interesting.
I think your mother will try anything you bring her.
That is a good point.
Yeah, it seems like she has her own version of the Egref thing, where science is the question and the answer is always yes.
Meanwhile, the kobold is going. Boom. Oh, Froseth takes the bits out. If we're going straight back to Egref in the morning, how much dinner do we have, and do we want to share it with kobolds? And Alice says, like, if I've got Hazel helping, I can cook for days. Well, not literally, but you know what I mean.
Then I'm definitely helping.
And I'd be cool with sharing space with kobolds. It'd be a little awkward if none of them speak common. But one thing I do know is that if you've got a long trek ahead of you and you're unsure of your welcome other places, a good feed is good. And Froseth leans down, and for the ones that understand Draconic, we are making a lot of food. You and your friends are welcome. Potluck? What? Sorry, what? Is not lucky pot, but we all make thing and we bring thing, and is big feast, but made by lots of little hands, so big with not so much effort. Boom. If you want to bring things will reconvene here in an hour or two. It gives us time. It gives us time for potluck. And this little kobold kind of hammers a weird sort of hook thing into the top of the cliff. Hooks a metal hook to it that just snaps shut. Hooks it attached to rope to one of the bits of Buckley harness, and just base jumps, yeet, going
Straight over the edge.
"Ah!" And if you hopefully carefully look down, you see he scrabbles into a big, rides the rappel jump, chunk, and then scrabbles into a fairly small hole, unhooks, gives it a bit of a tug, and the hook on our end kind of dissolves, and the rope zip. You see him reeling in, and then just hear echoing. What the fuck was that?
Meanwhile,
Seth is
after
just-
seeing the kobold go over, I'm staying way back from the side.
Potluck. Proseth is just potluck. Apparently, they're all bringing something, like those mushroom things.
Sort of a communal feast, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Oh, like the kind of thing that Hazel talks about for special occasions and group celebrations at Goldendale.
Oh boy.
Proseth is yes. So they'll be filtering in a couple of hours. Guess I best start cooking then.
Yep. And I'm gonna head over to Alice and start helping with that whole debacle.
Would it
Breaking
be
up the war-
would it be insulting to feed them dragon liver?
Mm-mm.
Not
might be
like
happy
they
to
like that
add
dragon.
It's more of a. Then again, if Barnabas eats cow, there must be a. But then again, still sapient, evil but sapient. Are we encouraging cannibalism? What? If Froseth is just. I think Dragonborn would be closer to Ken. I don't believe I'm having this conversation. Look, I want to eat a dragon liver, and there's a lot to go around, and I know just how I cook it. Although I'm having one bit raw because that's how we do.
I'm just holding up the war skillet.
Yeah, I think Hazel and Remi should each have a bit of the raw as well, because if it weren't for Hazel's parents, we wouldn't have been able to goldfish bull that sucker, and Ree got the kill shot. So I don't know how you guys are on raw liver, but this is how we do.
I'll have a bite.
Yeah, that's for raw. That's what you do. And
As Darvin has often said, ride or die with frosting. Let's do this.
I don't think that dragon liver would taste very good with frosting. I guess
No,
it
but
depends on the frosting.
how would you make a meat frosting?
Isn't that just gravy? Or thick gravy?
No, thick gravy. Frosting spreads.
Yeah. Gravy kind of, well, I suppose it depends on the gravy. Never mind.
Dark sorcery. That's how you make meat frosting. Dark sorcery.
You know what? Never mind.
Blood, appropriate slices, and lard.
Yep, that's one of those moments where it's better off not knowing what you're eating.
Hey, some
This
people
is
don't
not
want to
pie.
know how the sausage is made. I kind of learned how to make the sausage, so.
And I want to know how the sausage is made because cookery is Well, it looks like fun whenever mom and mama get up to all of the stuff.
Yeah. And she does wind up coming out with a liver the approximate size of. I mean, this is a Rizwin-sized piece of. Livers are big, so it's a couple of feet. So and slices off bite-sized chunks, and Remi, Hazel, and herself. It's surprisingly tough and very dense, very bloody as well. So yeah, it's an interesting taste, but not something you want for extended periods. But apparently, it tastes like victory to anyone who spent any time up north. So Alice is enjoying the hell out of it, even as she's cutting the rest of the liver into more cookable slices.
I mean, looks at Alice and then tears off a piece.
Oh no, it's literally just a she cut off a piece that you could just fit into your mouth.
Yeah, she tears off half of that piece with her teeth.
Yeah,
chews
that's
very intently.
yeah, and it is gonna take some chewing. So yes,
I'm going to just
put it in your face. I know.
yeah, just look at Remy, raise eyebrow, look at Alice.
Who's chewing on it? Well, yeah, and again, it's almost biltong texture. So not what you'd expect of raw meat. It's juicy like raw meat, but chewy like. It's weird.
It's dense.
Mm.
And I'm probably going to be tasting of dragon liver for the next day and a half. So
No, you're only going to be tasting of raw dragon liver until you've had it cooked, and whatever else these guys are doing.
fair enough.
Potluck, whatever. And then starts reciting a list of ingredients she needs and vague explanations of what she intends to A, do with them herself, and B, have you do with them to help matters.
Yep. So I'm just gonna follow through on instructions and juggle what I'm allowed to juggle.
A word about the war skillet. When there was not an instruction manual with the war skillet. It turns out it has one tiny bit of magical nonsense. When it turns out that you're producing the ingredients for sort of a stew thing, and you put it on the fire, the war skillet becomes a rather large, almost cauldron-y stew pot. Okay.
That's new.
Clarity, look, look. It's the worst skeleton. Look, and it went boom, and it did.
It's a war saucepan.
No, currently it's a war cauldron. It is.
War cauldron. War pot.
It's
hope-
that's
I hope
amazing.
I hope it turns back. And starts dumping in ingredients.
Because if that stays in big, and I'm gonna have a problem bonking people with it.
And making pancakes.
Yeah, cake pans are mandatory. Deprivement of cake pans would be bad.
Pats Hazel on the head and goes back to the various bits of cooking. And as it starts cooking, it does start smelling. I mean, it's intensely rich smelling. Leavened a bit by the spices and such, so you're not getting quite the amount of density that Hazel was talking about, and Remi was kind of side-eyeing. And Kobold start funneling in both from up the cliff and through the bit that you came into, so it's all of a sudden it's just this sea of kobolds. I mean, okay, there's only about 24 of them, but it feels like a swarm. They're all coming, holding plates and bowls over their heads, and squeaking what Ava and Darwin and Furseth all understand is
Sure hope they like dragon meat, otherwise that's the one thing we seem have in abundance. Enough for that many.
I'm sure we could manage it. I mean, they're probably eating machines, but usually with small things, it's lots of food over an extended period rather than big meals. So it'll probably be okay. Besides, who says we have to tell them what the meat is?
That's true.
That wouldn't be mischief, Clarity. That would be chaos. Remember who your patron actually is.
I wasn't thinking that. Just
Just making sure. It's hard to tell sometimes. And if it was if it was going to be mischief, then great. But and I'm not overly on deceiving kobolds, but I turns around to Furseth. Can you ask them if they actually care what they eat? I'll try. And turns around to top hat wearing kobold leader. Do you care about the source of your meat intake? We get to eat the dragon! Yes, you get to eat the dragon.
Darwin's just already laughing. Just.
The leader turns around to the rest of them and is going, Dragon Potluck! And it
They
starts.
sound happy.
Sounds like they don't mind.
Yeah.
That's
They
a lot
are.
of squeaking.
Remember, Ava understands all of this. She does speak Draconic. So they figured it out, says Furseth, on their own. And they're
But I mean, given the size of this thing, it's hard to.
well, then Alice just shrugs. We took so much else out of it, it would be hard to tell. If you can figure out how to eat any of the rest of it, it's all yours. I've taken what I want. The Furseth translates this, and it starts another chorus of cheering, and about half of them put their bowls and things down around the fire to keep it warm, and all of a sudden it really is like knife wielding piranha.
What the?
What bits what bits of skin that you guys couldn't, that Alice couldn't get, some the larger bits of bone she's left behind, various of the organs. They've cut like flank steaks out of it, and it's just shoveling back and forth, and all of a sudden what you have is like a few bits of shattered bone. And
Well, what just happened?
They look like they enjoyed that, I guess.
well, I mean, I imagine that it'd probably be really useful in making their shelters and things.
And probably some level of catharsis, just judging by that
And-
speed.
And armor, and I think they're just efficient. And you got one of them waving a good-sized chunk of skin, which would probably make a jerkin or some sort of leather armor for one of them, going, "We shall be defended by the skins of our enemies!" As they go running down.
Yeah!
Okay.
I don't know what they said. That was just a lot of squeaking and hissing.
Furseth is just they're going to defend themselves with the skins of their enemies. And Alice pointing at the bag of holding in which she stashed her own bits and pieces. Well, hell, so are we.
Yeah, that's why I was cheering. I was like, rock on, the Ludes!
Hey,
I mean, fair,
no,
but-
you're being defended by the skin of my enemy.
Yeah, an enemy of yours is an enemy of all of us.
You hadn't even met me yet. You met me, I was dead. Clarity's, on the other hand, counts.
I don't know this dragon, but
You
Still
don't
an
know
enemy.
the dragon, but you knew most of us when that enemy got killed. But, it just occurred to me, she's ladling out bowls of, basically you've got kobolds in a line holding up bowls, and Alice is just ladling stew into this thing, and just turning around to Ava and going, of all of us, what I knew of you, what little I knew of you, which wasn't all that much, I figured if any of us needed fire resistance, it was probably you. Gives you a little bit of confidence, and hell, given what Archfey Chaos Asshat did, probably just as well.
Hmm.
And once the conversation subsides, those of you that understand Draconic do hear the kobolds as she is dishing out portions. They are actually saying, "Thank you, nice lady. Thank you, nice lady. Thank you, nice lady." She doesn't know what they're saying. She's just giving them little, yeah, okay, nods. And there's enough for everybody. And then there's the dishes that the kobolds have made. There's some interesting flatbreads, which they seem to use as utensils for the most part. They don't seem to go in for forks or spoons, or they have knives and bread. That's how they eat.
Knives and bread.
And there's those mushroom kebab things and other things with a very white meat that sort of looks like chicken and sort of looks like scallop and is basically white and soft and studded with herbs and things. And those little underground not quite chicken things, roasted. And bowls of what appear to be roasted grub. And very large beetles.
I'm gonna grab Ava, pull her over to Clarity, and basically ask Ava, I need to know, have to know what each of these things are, and also so Clarity can take notes as I make attempts at trying to see what reactions are.
When you want me to ask them?
Yes, because I don't speak squeak.
And
Alright, I can try.
Given that Hazel does not tend to keep her voice down, and yeah, the kobolds apparently don't understand common, but Furseth is like, when do I squeak?
I guess it's a dialect thing.
Just never mind,
I'm
Come on.
being me. Sorry.
well, guess I'll go up to.
Wait,
Well,
Miss
Well,
Surprise Me wants to know what her food is before she tries it.
Oh, I'm still getting surprised because I don't know what it tastes like yet.
Well, she wants to know how to make it in case she likes it enough to carry it through later.
Oh, okay.
That, and also so that Clarity has full documentation options.
Honestly, I'm here for this too because if you can dig it up from underground, the cold isn't so much an issue. So I might be able to provide whichever pack we run into. I mean, I hope it's my old one, but no way to be sure. Anyway, I might be able to provide them whole new dietary options, especially the various different mushroom bits, because we have a serious problem with the. I mean, the main reason all of our food is so spicy is because it's everything vegetation-wise is. So if you're not getting it fresh or preserved from, Demille or one of the border outposts between more temperate climes, either you get used to the spicy or you die of about 13 different types of vitamin deficiency. So yeah. Anything that gives us more. Then again, I think kobolds are probably closer to obligate carnivores than even Froseth is. That's fair. He's poking at one of the grubs like, And Alice is being completely indiscriminate about this, so grubs don't bother her.
Once I get a
does-
rundown from
Well, wait.
Kobold
Why don't we let Marion have some RP and let her actually ask?
Okay. Then we're doing
Because
that.
remember, she's still having to make up for the grab the no yeet thing.
Oh no! I'd almost.
You chose to
Okay.
ask her.
I think he didn't want to leave me as first NPC
Yeah.
and wanted to give you a chance to RP as well. So there's lots of kobolds. Maybe they haven't heard about the attempted yeet incident. You don't know.
Here we go.
But does one look more like they might have, cooking stains or something like that?
Not really, but make me a straight up intelligence check. Shouldn't take much. That's a save.
Oh, sorry.
Just about. You get the impression that, unless you're talking with one of the rather smaller ones, which are probably the younger ones, there's no way that a tribe that small could have that much specialization. And even if you ask someone who it turns out doesn't know, they could probably point you to someone who could, because, again,
They all know each other.
yeah.
Well, so go up to one. Sorry to bother you. My friends are very intrigued by the meals you brought. Could you tell me what they are and how you make them?
You've picked one of the not small ones, but what turns out to be something along the lines of a teenager, and that obviously hasn't quite earned the right to the fancy hats yet. But looks at you. He goes, "I shall fetch the matriarchs." Yum. And comes back with half dozen kobolds in. They've apparently dressed up for this. We're talking Victorian ladies walking kit on kobolds with parasols. They're the edge of the tips of the parasols appear to be fairly sharp, as there seems to be a very sharp edge around the outside of the parasols, but and you don't want to know what's in their chatelaines, but they step up to Ava. They're like, "We understand that you wish the secrets of the cooking.
If you're uncomfortable sharing, of course.
You want the secrets of the cooking?"
Yes. My friends are very interested in knowing how you make your...
No, that is not you who wishes the secrets of the cooking. Take us to the ones who with. They're pointing the edge the parasol at you, not really threatening, but more in a making a point kind of way. No pun intended. Take us to those who are interested in the cookery. We must test their worth.
Alright. I just wave them over. I will translate.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, this is well. I would say is like, okay. I take.
Test your worth.
Could you tell them I made the stew? See if that helps. Actually, tell them that Hazel and I made the stew, because that's true. That might help.
This one and this one, Alice and Hazel, they are the ones who made the stew.
Huddle. And then they actually put up the parasols to hide.
Oh my god!
Peers and point to Clarity. What of that one?
She's an extremely curious person. She loves knowledge.
He would put to permanence our recipes.
for her own personal knowledge. Yeah.
If you
Insight
can,
check if I can see expressions. Do they look shocked?
you can try. Your target's going to be a little high because this is kobold faces. But then again, you're also kind of used to Froseth, so
Here's hoping something works.
they look scandalized. If you cannot remember the important things, then you are not worthy.
I have zero comprehension of what they're saying. I'm just getting increasingly confused by their expressions.
Would I know anything about if humans have different sort of memories than kobolds or anything like that?
Okay, given that dragons are favored, I'll give you enough to know that probably not. And in fact, if anything, kobolds are generally thought to be less intelligent. So if they're saying that you must remember the thing, if that's something that's important enough for them to retain in somebody,
They're not getting it.
then telling them humans have different, humanoids have different memories, then kobolds is probably not going to cut it.
Mm-hmm.
They relent enough to go, we can tell you what they are, but we cannot tell you how to make them if they are going to be put to permanence. It is not the way!
Okay, I will convene with my friends and see if that suits them, alright?
Yes.
Alright.
That looked...
They're not very keen on having it written down.
I mean, I don't have to. It's fine.
They're very keen on memory being kept in memory and
I can see that. It's a family secret kind of thing, and I guess, I mean, I know that some of the folks in the packs had dishes that they made special, and they were the only ones who could make it that specific way. You could make it, but it would taste a little different, and it was yours. When food is scarce enough, you make it important any way you can. They probably got the same thing down here.
yeah.
That's fair. I don't write things down. I mean, I'm happy enough just to hear what the things are, and maybe if they would grant me, because this bunch seemed to have a spirit of exploration. What I'd really love is a small sampling of the spices and things that they use. If you could ask them about that, maybe it'll flatter them enough to get that. If they had hair like Hazel's, it would be going floomp by now.
I can try.
The matriarchs are looking very. No, actually, they're very upright. The parasol's out, waiting.
They are happy not to put it to permanence. They're happy with just knowing what the things are. And my friend Alice is very interested in the spices in particular.
She would bring new knowledge.
Possibly.
Not necessarily to us, but new knowledge out there. The parasols come in shield formation again. It turns around to the teenager you first approached. Fetch the sample pack! Apparently, when the matriarchs speak, the little ones listen.
What the fuck is this, Downton Abbey?
I wouldn't know, haven't watched, but
That was more of a patriarchy, but never mind.
then there. Come, and we will tell you approximates.
Okay.
And they do start pointing out no, they don't say how they're made, but they do explain that this is. You don't even know what. You can't translate the name they give you for the chicken-like thing, but it's apparently some kind of white meat. You don't know. Various grubs, mushroom salad, roasted spice mushroom, and the little kid turns up with the fairly large sack for something so small. Appleback. They gesture to Alice. It is pat, 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 pat. Okay. How do you say thank you? And yeah, how badly does she? Well, no, wait a minute. She's got the actor feet. No, she gets the pronunciation just fine. The matriarchs look approving, and the kid just beams. Well, toothy. Okay. And it then turns around to the matriarch and does a thank you in Draconic again. It's all delicious. Tell them.
They really enjoy the food.
The matriarchs give a nod and turn with their parasols over their shoulders and trot sedately away in their little line.
Well, that happened.
Yeah, that did.
Well, then you got more spice to play around with.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna save some of this for when we get up north, just to, if it's things that can thrive underground, they might be able to figure out similarities with what they've already got.
Mm.
More exploration and innovation and all the other vations that they're into.
Mhm.
And unless anyone else had anything else to say to the local Kobold pack?
Clarity's just been looking around sort of amusedly and doodling in her notebook, like very badly drawn kobolds with
We've seen
parasols.
the very badly drawn kobolds, yes.
Oh no! I love your notebook. That gets better every time.
And she's looking around and she's just like, "This is the weirdest potluck that I've ever been to. It's the Thatchers used to have church groups that would have things like this, and I'm just trying to imagine them here and looking at all of these these kobolds with their stodgy church friends.
Their brains would melt.
Probably.
I mean, are we talking? Are we talking Palo worshippers, Baori worshippers?
Very, but they're farmy people. They're small town people, and they're very set in their ways. Things are not done, and
Wow,
yeah.
Barry must hate that. I'm just saying.
I asked him.
Her, Barry's her.
Her. I don't think they've asked her.
Well, no, but they should be glad that Barry has a reputation for being exceedingly nice, or I don't think their so-called Barry worship would be going anywhere, if you see what I mean. Anyway, failing anything else to do with the Kobold pack, they give their little bows and doffing of various hats and poodle off in various directions. And Porchy stops long enough to go, "When you have gone, we will be back for the remnants of the shiny. We will bring them to the shiny dragon, and we will have whole new shinies for the worship." Yes! And boom. I didn't understand a word of that, but they're gonna fit in so fucking well in Egref. Just yeah.
They're happy to have more shinies.
I got the general gist,
And-
but
yeah.
yeah. But yeah, they're Calatel is going to love them. Calatel is going to love them and squeeze them, and yeah.
Given the volume at which you had the response you got, I'm just wondering what we've unleashed and how much more, what was the word, dapper they're going to be next time we see them, because they're already wearing the hats and the parasols and doing the things. That's going to amplify, I think.
Hey, they might evolve their fashion traditions into Egref clubwear.
I just had the thought of them in fairy fire. Now I'm just imagining a swarm of little glowing kobolds everywhere, and it's amazing.
It's fantastic. And then Proseth very quietly, them taking time off at Basil Cell. Mostly straight
The
faced.
best choices!
The look on Darth's face. Well, I think that's been plenty of excitement for one day. Well, we've collected what we're gonna take. I think by this point I'll post the. I've been remiss in posting last session because it was very long, and I've been working on slightly different and longer than I expected mid break thing. As it turns out that trying to encompass Remi and Alice's relationship, or at least the highlights thereof, takes about an hour. And that's with seasoned, somewhat seasoned editing. I'm not that great, but I get by anyway. I actually even managed to put some of the commissioned fan art into the appropriate spots. So that'll be cool when I finally get it out. But it did mean I didn't have enough time to finish it before, with pain spikes and everything. So anyway, you did discuss, I don't remember the exact numbers, but you did discuss exactly how much you were taking.
Yeah, it was. I remember actually. It was 1,000 each, 2,000 for party funds, and then it was some. I don't remember the numbers for left over for various
3,000,
tithes.
I think.
Okay.
3,000
Yeah.
for Miranda and Twilly, if I remember.
Yes.
Yes.
And specifically, you were, Alice, you were saying about 20 gold or 30 gold for something specifically nice because of the
yes, but
rainbow wall or rainbow
yes,
fishbowl.
but also probably more. Yeah, that was separate to the extra few thousand, but which I remember now was because they don't know what they're going to be able to plant come spring with mercenary companies on their fields right now. And that is entirely exclusive of picking up a few diamonds for Revivify, Resurrection, Raise Dead, that kind of thing. And you're the various little bits of shiny, which I'm assuming. I mean, we know the spectacular spices went to Alice. The spellbook thing, I'm sure, went to Clarity. Who took the Ring of Memories?
Darvin picked it up.
Yeah, I flagged up what it was, but I don't.
That's the point at which Alice would say, as you're, after the kobolds have left and you're divvying up the last bits, Ava.
You think?
I just pass it over.
If nothing else, sometimes you might need a good memory.
True.
Okay, so yeah, if you just note down that you have that, the little wrist-mounted crossbow.
Hmm. I'm gonna look at Darvin, look at Ava. My best guess is either of those two, but
Hard to deal with when you've got a shield or you're using a bow. I mean, it might be useful in that mid-range quarters bit between using the using the bow and pulling out gleam, but I'd honestly give it to clarity, because if anybody's going to make the most of shooting something needle-sized at someone, it's probably going to be clarity.
works for me.
The battle chef buckler just gets handed to Hazel. She might not use a shield anymore, but you never know. The Wayfarer's friend does tend to be passed along. And yeah, once the cauldron was empty, it became the war skillet and was perfectly clean, by the way.
Victory!
I guess it's turned into what you need it to be.
Who knows?
And yeah, the secret scribe candles also go to clarity, so that's a thing.
Those being
They're basically two candles. You keep one in one place and one in the other, and you can sort of burn off the ink, and only the ink, from one candle, and then the candle somewhere else lights up and forms the message on your other piece of parchment.
magical text messaging, essentially, as a
Effectively, yes.
single point.
And I'll say it's going to be selling some various bits of dragon bone to, because you guys have enough in the way of weapons. I mean, look at they kind of look at what? No, what?
I was waiting for you to finish.
Well, there's 2 bits left, so if we want to do an interruption about something that's already been talked about, do it now.
Not as far as items, no. We hadn't gotten to the one that thought I remembered.
Which one then?
Oh, there was a sword, I think?
That's exactly where I was going with that, so maybe don't make that face until I'm finished. Thank you. There is a sword. It's it's called Windrazor. The immediate is to look at Furseth, but he goes, no, I'm good with this. It's since I stabbed the Tiamat statue, it's been kind of humming at me in a good way.
Oh.
And kind of the same way that Scale Splitter's been doing with Remi. She did say that some of our weapons were capable of waking up. Honestly, as far as this one goes, I'd want to let Jenna have a look at it to see, because we're all quite comfortable with our weapons at the moment.
True. What about Barnabas? Barnabas he has a set of sword. He has a sword and an axe.
I
Two
don't.
swords wouldn't be much different.
Thing is that a lot of what he's doing with his current weapon set is radiant, and given what we're doing, I don't think that losing a source of radiant attacks is a good idea.
It definitely would be.
Yeah.
Basically, we could use the dagger and the sword that we have, or we could show them to Jenna and see what she could make of them.
Yeah, thinking that's a very good point, and it makes me rethink. So yeah, I'm in agreement with that.
I mean, if nothing else, one day assuming we do everything right, or worse if we don't, some set of adventurers might need the things in her box.
Good point.
And I saw some interesting little cups in some of the shops in Egref with little signs: "Take a copper, leave a copper." In this case, it's "Take a weapon, leave a weapon." We've taken so many of her weapons.
Mm.
For all we know, various steel singers before her, or maybe even she did, if any of those are new from when that blue was attacking ships. May as well refill that box. And that seems to be just about everything, so... And Alice is just, yeah, I think I'll be saving the various bits of dragon I picked up for her. That's the way you thank a steel singer. Bits for the forge and things to experiment with. Ree here with Scale Splitter must have made her fucking year.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we have divvied up money, items. Anything else we feel like we're gonna need to do before getting some rest and hitting Egref in the morning?
I don't think so.
It seems like we've capped off everything.
And the kobolds are gonna take care of the rest of this. And we've got our list of things to do for when we get back to Egref tomorrow. I imagine first thing we're gonna have to do is drop by the Riddler stump and see if our regular rooms are available. Pretty sure they are. In a lull over dinner, I kind of stepped aside and arranged some of that. So, but we're gonna have a lot of stuff to dump before we start doing our various errands. But we can discuss that more when we've got back to civilization. So I'd recommend that I don't think we need to keep a watch. We have excitable kobolds who absolutely love us now. So I don't think we need to worry about it too much. And head out first thing in the morning, Ray?
Yeah.
That'd be
Excellent.
perfect.
And
Also-
assuming... Oh,
Remi's gonna take a good look at her sword once we're settling down for the night.
yeah, it's a little difficult to figure out what it's done. It can do yet. But it's definitely gleaming a little brighter. The stone at the pommel, you're pretty sure that was straight up metal at one point when it was first made. Now it appears to be the same kind of red gem that's... You're not sure if it's garnet or ruby, but whatever it is, it matches up with the stone in your pendant of Tritherion. So that probably does something, but you're not sure what yet.
Interesting.
But beyond that, night happens. No untoward collapse of caverns or creepy ass dreams, as far as anybody knows. And come morning, and after a moderately quick breakfast, Remi looks through her book, sketches out the appropriate circle, which I'm going to say, by the way, that Darvin does probably watch this, because nobody but Smeagol has reproached me about level ups yet. I did say sometime in the next month, but 2 weeks and nothing, guys. And you're at a level where you can cast that, and given some of the various appropriate bits and pieces, that's probably going to be the one you're going to want to go for at your level. So this is a good opportunity to lead into that, which I would have
Sorry,
I
I
know
only had a
you've been-
chance to
you've been-
look.
You've been really busy, and I get it, but guys, please at least set a date, because my next week or so is gonna be kind of. I'm moving 2 doors down temporarily while they fix the multitude of things that are wrong with this fucking flat, and I'm actually going to be offline for Sunday and Monday next week, because it's a bank holiday next weekend, and I couldn't get the engineer in until Tuesday. I could have them get in to set everything up before I move in, but that involves talking to my stepfather, and I'd like to do that as little as possible. Thank you very much. Anyway, so yes, Remi sketches out her teleportation circle, and poof, with that bit of vertigo, you wind up in a teleportation circle-sized stained glass booth, which as you open the shiny door and step out, there's the Conundrum Pavilion. And nobody's saying nobody's saying anything, and Alice just sort of turns her face upward and going, "Oh, that's so much better."
Mhm.
Darvin just steps through the little door and just kind of stretches and just breathes in real deep, just like, elbow room. I mean, I know we had it, but, whew.
I'm just happy that there is sky now.
We walk in the sun, and the sun provides.
What the sun is going to provide us now is the best route to the nearest trolley for in a Riddler's stump kind of direction,
Yes.
and pile in and ring the little doorbell, and there is Polly. Oh, we already have your rooms ready for you. At least partially, because it looks at Remi. You have visitors.
What? I do?
And ushers her into the parlor, and sitting, clearly being on absolute best fucking behavior, at least in one case, Corey and Amel Crestwind. Darling. And what about break time?
Mom!
And what about break time? So, when we come back, we'll do
I was waiting for this one.
Yeah, Hazel's the only one who actually noticed that she was doing that. So, yeah, we'll see you in 5 minutes for that reunion.
Debacle time, go!
And we're back, following a subterranean potluck with a bunch of kobolds. Yeah, steampunk kobolds. Returning to Egref via teleportation circle and turning up at the Riddler stump and Remi being confronted effectively by her parents. And first at this looking at the others, leaving Alice out of it, just sort of going to the rest of you, I think discretion is the better part of valor. Polly, could you show us two rooms? Yes, of course. I will allow the reunion. Nudges. Amel is just, if you were worried, we do have different lodgings, so you won't have to be under the same roof as us.
I wasn't worried. I'm surprised. And she looks to Alice.
I think Corey is just. We understand that there's an occasion, and she said you wanted us here for that.
Yes, I did. Because Alice and I are getting married
Yes,
within the
she
next few days.
She did say, and as I understand it, some of today is going to be arranging for a time and a place for that to be done. She let us know that might be a thing. So if you're worried about the shop, we got Meredith and Cliff from down the street to watch things while we're gone. We actually decided to turn it into a bit of an impromptu holiday. So
That's nice.
besides, while I know that most of the weddings you would have seen, in fact, probably all of the weddings you would have seen, have been among the mercenary companies, so you probably had comrades, I suppose, to speak for you. It's traditionally one of the parents. And, she thought you might like that. Now, traditionally, it's the father speaks for daughter and the mother speaks for son, but given that you defy tradition semi-professionally, we thought you might like to choose.
Oh, can't you both do it?
No, unfortunately,
Choose?
unfortunately not. It's one person for the speaking. It keeps the ceremony at least marginally short.
Good point.
Because one of us speaks for you and looks at Alice. It's like I have no idea. You don't have anyone to speak for you. Not, I mean, I guess one of these guys, but I mean they haven't known me for very long, and my parents are dead, and I wouldn't want to hear what they had to say about me anyway. So,
Oh.
but and Emil just goes, if you're having trouble deciding, you can lean on tradition.
Really, who looks between her parents?
I won't be offended, darling, says Corey, I promise. It's enough to be there. It's enough you wanted me there, particularly after some of the issues.
You should do it, Mom.
Gets up and hug.
There could use your help with preparing things.
Oh, I mean, we didn't want to intrude overmuch, but we did help a little bit with the research. We got in quite early. We took the night train. Just actually phenomenally comfortable. I hadn't thought that a sleeper train would be quite so comfortable, but it really was.
They've done some very useful things here. It's nice.
Yes, so it would appear, but so we did some of the bits of research. We didn't make any decisions for you, but we did research who you'd have to speak to and pulled out the forms. And if you're all more or less ready for a simple ceremony, we could do one at straight up at noon tomorrow.
Oh.
And Alice is like,
Alice,
we've got a day.
yeah, that's true.
And if we've already got whatever paperwork and things, all that involves is booking the venue before somebody else snatches it out from under us, figuring out whatever decoration would have Sune drop by to bless the thing. And Hazel's probably been thinking about this on and off for a week. So I think we're probably okay. I mean, I'm pretty sure Hazel thought that it was going to be more or less immediate when we got here. So don't underestimate her just because she flails a lot.
No, I was just thinking what else we need beforehand
Uh,
besides the venue.
then Amel's just honestly not that much. Your mother did have an idea of something you might like to wear for something like this. Nothing. Well, we'll show it to you and see if you approve. We did also arrange something for the first night. Hands Remi an envelope, which, if she opens it and looks inside, is a little voucher and brochure for one of the more fancier upmarket luxury accommodations that they have in Egref. This is, I think, one of the more posh hotels that you might find in places. And it's, multiple restaurants and, fancy ballroom and really fancy rooms. And for some reason, they have a swan pond in the middle of the whole thing. Just for the pretty, apparently.
Remi nudges Alice's arm and shows
Oh.
her the letter.
Okay. Wow. Thank you.
Okay, that's something to wear and somewhere to go after, and guess
I can go shopping for a dress, I guess.
think you can do it in a day, and I guess we need flowers.
Well, I think that's part of the venue decoration. I'm half-minded to let Hazel handle that because she's more of the expert on what the gods might like. And as long as we mention what colors we might want, I don't know how picky you are about that kind of thing.
I'm not, I guess white is the wedding color.
Sometimes,
I don't think a lot about flowers unless,
I
she nudges Alice's hair.
yeah, well, I mean, whites, reds, golds if we can manage it, I guess. But I wanted to include something that was a little more on your end of things. But I don't think he. This is Egref. If we wanted to find dark blue flowers, we could do it.
Yeah.
But we'll mention that to Hazel and leave it up to her is probably the safest way of handling it.
Yeah, that sounds good. But I was thinking of flowers for you and
Well,
me.
what I wear is on my end, and these guys seem to have an idea for what you might do. So, I'm happy to leave it to them and leave it as a surprise for the day.
Okay, then we're doing this tomorrow.
Apparently, yes, we are. Hopefully that's not too fast for you.
No, it's perfect.
Corey is just well, why don't we go and reassure the others that this is fine, this is good. Let them know, and I'll do the paperwork, and Hazel can file it when she's looking at decorating the venue, and you can have a shopping day with the parentals. I need to decide who I'd ask to speak for me at this point anyway. So that's yeah.
Oh, I know they all would have something to say.
Yeah, the point is it's supposed to be somebody who's known you a pretty significant length of time, and almost nobody does.
Well, we've known you significantly, even if it is a short time.
That's true. There's a little bit of, it still would have been nice to have parents worth actually speaking for me look on her face, but she's got Remi's got it, and so she's happy enough. We'll be right back. Well, she'll be right back anyway. No,
I need to get out of
yes.
armor.
It is wonderful armor. I do keep saying it's
Mhm.
there's new gauntlets, aren't they?
Yes, they're very nice. But we've been in armor for the last few weeks, pretty much.
You've been in
constantly.
armor for the last week or so. I don't wear it. And up we go. Yeah, we won't keep her long. Yeah. Meanwhile, yeah, Hazel and Clarity have been settled into their room. Ava's got kind of a smaller room. Apparently, they now have wall divisions and portable doors to get in and out of the smaller rooms. And Barnabas, Darvin, and Froseth have their space in the attic. But given that stuff has happened, I can't help but think that the ladies probably dumped their stuff in their respective rooms and went up to the attic to be like, "What just happened?" Or if you're Hazel, being able to explain what just happened. But the attic's the only space all of you will fit. So yeah,
until we get there, I'm just gonna be sort of quietly smug for a while.
and while that's happening, you guys dump your stuff and straight up to the attic. And Froseth is wise enough to more or less figure things out, but he's still not saying anything because honestly, it looks like Hazel wants to.
So yeah, this was planned, and further plans have been sort of made. Mostly ideas I was having, but no, the parents turning up, that was all Alice. And honestly, I'm somehow not surprised they keep getting more adorable every time we turn around. Who'd have thought that Remi would end up this much condensed cute?
Hmm.
I remember her introduction involved her asking someone if they'd ever been stabbed before.
No, you weren't there for that. That was outside the that was outside the fog wall. Well, actually, just inside
more
the
more
fog.
of a. Yeah, no, I'm speaking just generally about like her introduction to someone was that.
I suppose Sigwald might have explained that at some stage. Oh, of course they did.
So-
They explained it in front of Corey. Do you know what being stabbed feels like? Yeah, I remember now. Okay.
Yeah, it was basically them wigging out like in the middle of the in the
Middle
building.
of the bakery. Yes. Froseth is just. So we need to start considering wedding finery.
I
Yeah.
guess, yeah.
I have. That's part of where my plans have gone. I need to borrow Barnabas.
All right.
You've known Remi from the whole mercenary company stuff,
Mm-hmm.
so you would have a good frame of reference. And, well, I've been meaning to have a chat and generally apologize for a few of my personal errors. So, perfect opportunity to do quite a bit in one fell swoop.
I mean, I'm happy to help however you need me. That's no problem.
And you do at that point, because their conversation didn't take overly long. Two sets of footsteps coming up the stairs. You guys all hiding up out here?
We were just waiting for you guys. This is the biggest room there is. So.
Well, it's still a nice place, although apparently Ree and I will not be spending tomorrow night there. Holds up the... we got an early wedding present. So first night is going to be spent at one of the ritzier places. You're welcome to join us for breakfast, so hey. Anyway, today is going to be apparently pretty busy because... yeah, we have paperwork to fill out that Hazel can file with the people at the information desk thing for the Conundrum Pavilion, but apparently they've got an opening at noon tomorrow.
Good. Good.
Corey and Amel checked out, but wouldn't make any final decisions without Ree's approval. I did tell them when I sent to them not to freak out. And they didn't. So hey, they are going to take her shopping though.
Thank you very much.
Well, it's a way of explaining where you're going to be for most of the day.
Well, also, they're probably happy to spend time with you.
Yeah, yes, it's good. It's good. I mean it, LSA. Thank you.
Your face, Remi. Your face is amazing.
Hazel, decor, whites, reds, bits of golds, and very dark blue anywhere you can fit it.
We can definitely sort that out, right, Barnabas?
Remi looks at Barnabas.
Hey, she asked me to help. I'm just gonna do what she tells me.
That's probably a good plan.
And I'm pretty sure that, Hazel, Clarity, Ava, and I still have a standing date for piano bar and conversation, and you guys have whatever you're gonna do. Apparently, the Crestwinds have lodgings elsewhere and are basically turning this into a vacation. So that's a thing.
We'll find whatever the Egref equivalent to the Bravo's post is, or something along those lines.
I'm sure you'll find something suitable, but I don't think you'll find anything that is the equivalent of the Bravo's boast. The Bravo's boast is singular.
True.
But we can meet at that pan place that does the pancakes for dinner.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You can invite your parents if you want, Ree, but after that we'll separate and do our various pre-celebrations.
Mm-hmm.
But it'll be good to figure out, we'll have that to figure out where we go, what we do, etc. And I think before I go and try to hunt myself up something wearable for the thing, I have one last thing to ask about. Ava. Rika. I've known all of you more or less about the same length of time, but it's not very long, but if it's long enough to fall that much in love, then it's enough for this. You probably know the Palor wedding traditions involve someone, usually a parent, speaking for you, and you know that for a variety of reasons, I don't have that. Will you speak for me?
I mean, I'd be honored if you're sure you want me to.
You're my Rika. Who else?
Well, I'd love to.
Yeah, hug. Thank you. And, if you guys want to get yourselves dolled up for the occasion, by all means, but for the most part, we'll meet you at meet you at the pancake place at around about the dinner hour. So by their clocks here, 6:30.
Okay.
I mean, it's still fairly early morning, thanks to certain teleportation circles, and that should give us plenty of time. Gives Ree lunch with her parents, and gives everybody else time to figure out what they want to do, say, where, etc.
Are you gonna look for your dress by yourself? Don't you want someone?
Nah, I think I trust my taste relatively well.
Okay.
And to be honest, mostly I'm gonna be spending a fair amount of time just outside. I've been out of the sun too long.
Fair.
I am solar powered.
We walk in the sun, and the sun.
I have a little bit of the sun right here. Taps her chest.
Is eternal.
Oh, Hazel, I did want to ask you this now so you can have a think about whether you want to do it. You said that a flight over the city, the way I did for Clarity and Ava and Faraday, might actually help the whole Fear Heights thing.
Yeah.
Between dinner and the drinks thing, do you want to give it a shot?
I'm down for that.
Don't
I'm
worry.
down for that.
You know I would not let you get hurt.
I'm aware. There's gonna be personal jitters anyway, but I know.
I know, but hey, you'll have me to hug the whole way.
You're probably the only person I wouldn't accidentally squish.
I think you'd have a very hard time squishing Ree. I think you'd have a very hard time squishing Barnabas. And Furseth is just... I may be wiry, but there's still a lot of muscle. So you could only squish half the party. Less than half the party.
That's pretty novel.
At which point you've got Flitty poking head out of the Flitty bag. I've been listening. I don't understand all of it, but there's gonna be flowers and decorating. Can I help? Sylvan for Hazel, because...
Yeah, and in same language in response. Yes, very yes. In fact, you will probably be the best sampling of common sense in small form factor ever.
But the bullman is common sensey.
Yeah. He's also a little bit not used to all of the stuff here and tends to go along with a lot of what I say for reasons I don't entirely get.
He's polite. And confused. And trusts you. And clambers out of the bag and then flies to the top of Barnabas's head. It leans to look at Barnabas upside down, and you just get peeps, but Hazel and Clarity and obviously Darvin get, I'm helpful!
Small ball of common sense. Also, again, I'm still going in Sylvan at this point.
And Alice A, while this bit of silliness has been going on, has been filling out the paperwork and going, this is actually really simple. It's just, who's going to be there, what they're planning to do, and when she finishes off the last bit and hands it, Ree, you got a sign there.
Okay.
When she signs it, the bit of paper vanishes,
Oh.
and then a small card kind of appears. And make me a dex check. You almost catch it. You fumble and then it falls on the floor.
That's neat.
Alice Leans picks it up. Okay. Ree, you're gonna want to read this.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
that wasn't just a confirmation.
Well,
was
it's partially confirmation. It's we have confirmed that your ceremony shall proceed at the Conundrum Pavilion. Gives a quadrant name, and on the back of it shows a map of the Conundrum Pavilion and marks which quadrant they have to decorate as their own. But underneath the quadrant name, also, Calatiel will be honored to attend
Oh.
with guests.
Oh.
the governor.
Oh,
and
boy.
guests have invited themselves.
Guests, plural. Why do I have a feeling that the 5 claws of Bahamut are going to be witnesses at our wedding?
Oh. So, yeah, that would make sense. I
Oh
think.
boy.
Garvin,
person.
get over it. This is our wedding.
You're not going to be lunch, you ridiculous person.
I just don't want to be a rabbit in the middle of it.
You won't be that either, you bean.
If you are polite and keep your mouth fucking shut, play music.
We
Don't
need
use
your
words.
Human hands to play music.
Yeah, play music. No words, just music. Right. I think that's everything. Let's get the arrangements started. Bounce, bounce,
So,
bounce, bounce. You've
anyone
never actually
Remi-
seen Alice do this.
Oh,
Is
she's
Alice
bouncing.
heading downstairs?
Not
Or
yet.
she wait- okay.
She's just bouncing in place a little bit. Sorry.
So, does anybody else want to come along and help with the deco? Because we now have an addendum of Calatiel in attendance.
Yeah.
If you guys,
How about if you know where it's going to be? Sorry, inserting common sense in the midst of my happy squee. If you're going to be getting something else to wear or whatever else you do for weddings in places that do them, why don't you do that? And if there's still time before dinner, when you're done, join and help out.
yeah, I was just going to suggest one of us could go do the dress shopping that anyone needs.
But how would you know what people want and how it
by asking
fits?
them. By
But
asking
they
them.
don't know what's available unless they look.
True.
So yeah, it's probably best to let people do their own bits. And that's the thing. If you guys go afterwards, Hazel and Barnabas and Flitty apparently will have the basics of it sorted out, so you can spot them while they do their own thing.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. All right, Barnabas, Flitty, let's rock this city.
Oh boy. For the very first time in this entire endeavor, I have minor regret.
If we're not back by this evening, please avenge our deaths.
And yes, Hazel and Barnabas with Flitty still now perched on one of the horns and doing a kind of a budgie tappy dance across one of just clearly very excited by the whole thing. And you look into the parlor, you've still got Corey and Emil sitting as patiently as expectant parents can be said to wait, particularly when they're helicopter parents. And they just wave, "Hello, Hazel, Barnabas."
Hello.
Hello.
hopefully we'll be seeing more of you than you just heading out the door.
You very much will. We're going to be sorting out Deco.
Well, I'll speak with Remi and see if she'd be amenable to us helping them once we've done our bit and had our lunch with our Remi. For now, our Remi. Anyway, off you go. Off you go.
Good luck. I'm gonna grab Barnabas and just start attempting to knew him as much as possible with.
Is Barnabas going to slow her down or just attempt to catch up with the Neum? I
I'll be
pimp him.
Catching
Shouting directly into your ear.
Yes, but he's meowing in her ear. Dune is not doing that anyway. Yes, sorry, Barnabas.
He'll be catching up with the new.
So yeah, you. The people on the street are treated to the sight of Minotaur Neuming.
As
Time
fast
for
as he can.
speed.
She's not clicking the boots, and your athletics is pretty good, so you're probably okay. And more than likely, you're Neuming as far as the trolley stop, because it's easier to get to places via the trolleys.
Yep. So gonna.
Remi is waiting for Alice to exit the attic first.
Okay, and she's just. Yeah, I know that look. I need to be elsewhere. I've got some stuff to do anyway, so I'll see you guys at dinner.
See you. Remi gives her a kiss.
Yeah. Kisses back, obviously, and then boom, 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 down the stairs.
Ava, you know how to
Yeah?
dance, right?
I will also say to Ava that by now she knows there's a very big difference between how Alice and her people dance and how you dance.
Yeah.
Besides, Remi was doing a hell of a lot better at Basil Cell than you were. So why she's asking this of you, you have no the hell idea.
Her dancing and my dancing is very different.
Well, unfortunately, we don't really have time to practice the particulars, but
I mean, I can try.
you just need to be prepared to dance with Alice as part of a thing that the people do at their weddings that involves usually the parent dancing with their child and then handing them off to their partner. So you have to do that with Ava, and I will do it with my mother somehow. And probably not exactly the people's form, but
This is around the time when Clarity, who is incredibly intelligent, would go, wouldn't it make sense if we found a way to subtly ask what the people do as far as that kind of thing goes and get a better idea that it'll be quick and dirty to pass along on the day, but it's at least better than winging it.
We could ask Alice in a sort of subtle-ish way, if you want, before the time. I mean, it's tomorrow, but I mean,
You're going drinking with her.
you know, we have time with her to just put it out there.
Remi looks kind of skeptical at the subtleish bit, but
It's Clarity, it's not Hazel.
Yeah,
that is a good point.
but she is very perceptive.
Yes, that is a very good
But-
idea,
Well,
Clarity.
we can try.
Yes, she's very perceptive, but she is also very excited, and there will have been at least a bit of drink taken. So that's probably the only time you could potentially slip something past her.
Between me and Ava, we can figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that sounds perfect.
Any other requests?
No. I might ask. Actually, Clarity, since you're good at researching, there is something that might be a long shot, and we're definitely not going to do by tomorrow at noon. But I was thinking in Egref, there's probably lots of academics of various sorts, and I need to talk to someone who knows a lot about Asimar. And Egref is a big city, so I'm not sure where to start on that.
Clarity, you've studied the maps. You've got a very good memory and instinct for this kind of thing. There is, like in most of the big cities around Egref. Actually, I can move the map around, and of course I've archived it now. So, oh damn! Did I? I didn't actually name it. Of course I didn't. Fucker. I need to start actually naming things. We'll wing it from there. Basically, there is a temple district, and now we roll the hand of fate. The hand of fate is kind. You actually remember the trolley route she would need to take to get to the temple district, and given that Egref tends to be really big on stained glass, you can easily just say, look for big stained glass Palor thing, and that'll be, if anybody knows about Azamar, it's probably going to be them, or at least they'll be able to point you to someplace that does. And they study everything here, so it's not just what they know from prayer, it's what they know from research.
So you want to take this trolley route to the temple district, and then you'll look for big stained glass windows and Palor symbology and suns and whatnot. And if anybody knows about Asmar and can direct you to some good books, then that would be a place to look. They would know quite a lot, I think.
Thank you.
Happy to help. Do you want
Found it.
do you want some like gaudy paraphernalia for your bachelorette parties, like sashes with like bride on it?
Yes,
Or like
you should give a sash to Alice, and something. I think they wear crowns, don't they?
yeah.
Yeah,
I
you
could
should
get
that for Alice, since you're going with her to a
okay.
piano bar. It's a very good idea, Clarity.
Is this revenge?
Plot. Shenanigans.
Yeah, the temple district is actually called the Path of Faith, which you'll see on the map, which I have actually found and properly named this time. It's up, kind of there near the government building. So it's a little out of the way, but Remi's got time, and if she says she has to do this thing, it might it might be time. It might be a good time to. It might be a good thing to do after lunch to decompress from her mother dressing her for the first time since she was like 12. So
Okay,
yes.
then. See you guys later.
And,
Remi
yeah.
goes to get changed, clean up, and then
Yeah.
go back downstairs.
And you guys, let's handle the less parental related things first, because it's bound to be shorter. Let's start again with Darvin, Ava, Clarity. Are you going your separate ways or wandering market and the shopping district together until you have to go your separate ways?
I wouldn't. I mean, I'm assuming we're all going to the market district, so I figure
May
we
as
could
well
all
stick
go
together.
together and then
Yeah.
split off when we get there,
Yeah,
or
well,
when we find the relative stores.
Froseth points out if we're looking for relatively fancy things, it's probably easier if we stay more or less together anyway. We're meeting up at the same place, we're going to the same place, and I have the bag of holding. So any outfits we need to put in can just go in there. Besides, I don't know what you wear to weddings. I suppose if any place has anything that suits a dragonborn, it's probably here, but
We'll find something.
I might need some help.
We'll find something. Don't worry.
Honestly,
So-
I'm not really sure myself, only because the few that I've been to there was other factors involved, because there was noble stuff and things going on. So this is not that. So I'm not really 100% sure myself.
I think that with Alice you don't have to worry about unduly formal, but she likes a sense of occasion. So wear something. She likes it when people enjoy themselves. Wear something nice that you enjoy, I guess. I am just a little lost there because simple life, monastery, I'm not used to this.
Well, then there's the question of sort of what direction do you want to go? Do you want to go for the opposite of simple when you've not had the opportunity, or do you want to go simple because it's comfy and you'll be comfy?
I think going too far in the direction of elaborate is a mistake.
I'm thinking as well, because you don't want to take away from the two of them as well, come to think of it.
Besides, we're also having to deal with certain physiological things that are probably hard to do ornate for. We'll see. We'll start with you guys because I want to ask Antheus later what kind of thing he'd put Froseth into. So we'll say we found him something, but for you guys, what kind of things are you looking for? I mean, you're at least armed with knowing what kinds of colors Alice likes, and at least blending in-ish with that kind of thing is probably an idea, but beyond that, she's not gonna care, really. Mostly, she just likes it when people have fun.
For Darwin, I'm thinking, obviously something that's cut like it was cut for a bard, but specifically more so a valor bard than a lore bard, because previously when we went through, I think he was still thinking he was lore. So it would be, I think, cut a little bit different, probably less frills, because valor
Fewer
bards.
frills.
Ah, damn it! You're right. I said
Frills are discrete
Yep.
things.
Yep. Thank you. Sorry. Fewer frills.
The thing I'd imagine for Darwin along that vein is, similar. He's actually already got the trousers for this, a sort of a tan suede-ish kind of thing, but the top he's got is slightly puffed sleeve, but less puffed sleeve than he's usually got. In the shirt is largely red silk across the top and down the sleeves, but the chest is almost sort of somewhere between corset and breastplate, almost in cloth of gold kind of a situation. That it's still flashy, and it's not purple.
Nope.
But it very much says I am fighter, but I am flashy. And again, it would go really well with those pale tan suede trousers and the usual boots. And
Yep.
there's actually even a place he can get those cleaned up so that they're not as made of scuff. You're muted.
Yeah, anything that he's putting into the outfit that he's already got, he's going to take pains to have redone
Yeah.
or mended or fixed
And
fixed up. Whatever.
incidentally, if he likes that style of shirt, he can get a similar kind of thing in purple and silver.
Yes, very much so.
So yeah, both of those together will run him 15 silver, and the cleaning of particularly of the trousers are fine. He doesn't wear them very often, but the boots will be another 5 silver to make good as new, literally. So total of 2 gold taken off of that. Ava?
I'm thinking maybe something of a sort of not super vivid color, but sort of maybe pastel-like, with maybe a little touch of gold, maybe around the waist or around the straps or something like that, and maybe leaves a bit of the back uncovered.
And there's a shop actually just next door to the one that Darwin got his. They seem to deal in the more fancier fabrics. But one is more of a gentleman's outfitters, and one is more of a ladies' outfitters. But you will notice, by the way, in both those places that while they're looking at the style bit, Darwin in particular noticed it when he was looking through the through the shirts, that while it's gentlemen's clothiers, there's different. There, you know how they usually organize racks by size.
Mhm.
You get to the largest size, and then you go back to smaller. But you'll notice, you being a tailor, that it's cut for someone with a narrower waist, wider hips, and a bit more in the bust. But they're still calling it gentlemen's outfitters. And if you keep looking, you will actually find very well tailored binders. This is for people who don't necessarily want to do the full transition, but so this is probably a little bit confusing for Ava, and weirdly less so for Clarity, because she's been in Equitas a bit longer. It's less obvious in Belarus, but they still do have that kind of thing. But for Ava, it's like he's holding this and it looks like it's been cut for a woman, and that looks like the most uncomfortable bra. And why is it in a men's shop?
I don't think I've seen those sort of things before.
And I'll
The
pass it to Ava to take a closer look at.
shopkeeper says, that is a binder.
Oh.
See, sometimes, I do not know if you have met anyone like this, but you have some people who are men, but they have the body of a woman, and they maybe don't want to make the entire transition by magic or whatever other means, or they want to do as our esteemed governor does, and are man 1 minute, woman the next, somewhere in between the rest of the time. And so they want to keep their wardrobe more or less the same, but while still actually fitting their bodies. We pay attention to what people want to be called, not what bits of meat say.
I think that's very thoughtful.
Is only sensible. You just offend and disturb a fair number of people otherwise.
True.
And potters off to ring up Darwin's purchases. But in the shop next door, which has the same deal going on, by the way, you've got the dresses cut for a more feminine figure and the ones cut for a more masculine figure, and also binders at the back, etc. But what she finds is this dusty rose petal kind of a dress with gold leaf applique across a bit across the bodice and around the hem, does leave it dips a bit in both the front and the back, so not an uncomfortable amount of cleavage, but gives some space in the back, and so it's nice. It's simple. It comes in a few different lengths, depending on if you want to go knee length or calf length or ankle length.
Probably
The
ankle.
the ankle length one, I should also warn, is a little bit tighter around the skirt end, is slit up to about mid thigh, and has some of that gold applique along the edges of the slit, so that it accentuates it, but it makes it easier to move.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Sure, you can find shoes to match in a similar sort of spot, and because this is a longer dress, and those always seem to take more fuss to make, we are looking at 5 gold for the lot.
Okay.
Clarity?
It's still winter.
Yeah, but it doesn't seem to get overly cold here.
Okay. So Clarity is gonna look for something that's like not a bright red, but like a deep red and knee length, with tights and like those short booty, but like high heeled.
Yeah, I mean, you
Deal.
can find in the same shop. You can also find a almost a skater dress of wine red velvet. The applique is a bit more on the white gold range, and that's just collar and sleeves. They've got these wonderful tights that kind of accentuate the amber of your skin and turn it to an almost a deep rose gold kind of color, which just goes with the entire thing. And matching wine red suede, chunky heeled ankle boots, a little bit loose at the ankles, little gold buttons.
Okay.
And that probably takes you guys to about lunchtime, and there's plenty of places to eat. So whatever one wants to do about that. And I'll just say you
Cost.
ate. Oh,
cost.
yeah. Yours is 4 gold. Less fabric. And velvet is a little easier to come by around here, but okay. Hazel and Barnabas, briefly. I mean, you get to your quadrant of the Conundrum Pavilion, and you have this halfling. Bright red hair, skin almost the color of Clarity, is just a little bit more brown. Hair tied in basically Princess Leia buns. And just overalls, plaid shirt.
Hello!
To you, I understand that there is to be a joyous occasion.
Very yes.
I hope you two will be very happy together.
Oh,
No.
We're just in charge of deco.
What she said.
Oh,
No.
okay.
I'd be dead within a week.
So, are you...
I am Marigold, and I am here to provide whatever bits and pieces that you need for the decoration. So if you would like to tell me what it is that you are looking for, I am sure that I can provide. I am sent in from Druidcraft, and apparently money is no object because our esteemed governor has decided that this must take place because it is incredibly wonderful and silly.
Perfect.
Oh no.
So, Barnabas, we
Yes.
have a color palette, but we don't have any personalization analysis. The only bits I've got mostly involve things regarding Alice and northern provinces. I'm leaving the Remi related stuff for you to convey.
You do realize we were mercenaries, right?
Yes.
I don't know if that where that seems to be appropriate for weddings seems. I mean, sure, having arms and armor all over the place would be fine if we were dwarves.
Excuse me.
Hmm?
No,
You just stepped in it.
that's not what a dwarven wedding is like. Sune still has to come, and Sune does not feel that weapons of war are things that attract her for a blessing.
I'm not from around here, and the dwarves where I'm from are a little different.
I see, but still, then perhaps it is best not to make assumptions of any of these kinds of things.
I apologize. I did not mean to offend at all.
Just to say, I think that the individuals that will be coming will more than likely convey their own personal touches. So perhaps something that follows the color palette and speaks to them and their current lives.
That sounds good.
Oh, you've seen the have you seen the stained glass
Oh,
in the station?
what, the new one?
The one
Or
involving the
or
dragon, yes.
Oh, so not the new one.
The one involving the dragon. Wait, which new one? Because there was last
Actually,
time we
which one? Which one with the red dragon?
of the woman with the wings.
Oh, so not quite the new one. The next.
There's a new one coming up.
Well, it is more or less finished now. It appears to be a. I mean, we've actually seen the play now. Is very romantic.
Oh,
It involves the winged individual from the previous one being resurrected by true love.
that's actually on theme.
It does sound really good.
That is exactly on theme and entirely relevant to this entire situation.
Well then, the color palette plus stained glass for the lights of colors. I think the light seems to be a theme.
Yes.
Okay, so what are we looking at? And we'll just say that you give the appropriate color palette, and what she winds up with is with help from Barnabas to actually put them up. She just grows them with a rather significant amount of druid craft. But red roses, hibiscus, white roses, white lilies, which you guys wind up winding around a sort of archway under which the couple would stand, and she gets in what is apparently her brother, who looks almost the same, except instead of gardener's overalls, it's construction overalls, who winds up putting together this archway situation, beyond that, which is largely, yellows, oranges, whites, stained glass, which give a sort of a Palor-ish symbol with a wing impression in light on the ground, and is going to look best at the midday point.
Perfect.
So it should to your needs, and that's going to take a little while. So by the time they're setting up that bit of stained glass, you guys and Furseth are coming back and seeing, Barnabas sort of helping, probably Hazel standing on top of Barnabas's shoulders, putting the finishing touches on bits of the archway, and the halflings putting together the rest of the. You're muted.
Didn't say anything. It was just, he's just, what?
I figured you wanted us to hear the wow. 'Cause...
Yeah, and just like, well, that, he didn't hear what he said. Was like, wow, like, he kind of mouthed it, just like, oh my god. And then kind of eventually, just, you do, the one thing you do hear is you hear the, as he remembers, wait a minute.
The more construction-oriented halfling is just going, we are from Egref. We get things done! And now all we have to do is arrange for and decorate some benches for people to be sitting, because I understand we are going to have guests of some import. Hello to you all.
Yeah.
Oh,
If you would like to help with some decorating, I'm sure that we could use every hand. And these two probably need a break. Particularly this poor man who has been step ladder for the last couple of hours.
I finally detect the rest of the group. Hi!
hi.
Oh boy. Barnabas, how do I get down? Oh god.
And Hazel and Barnabas do what bits of shopping they need to do. And Hazel, I imagine, is going, need to replace vestments. Because actually I haven't carried any around for, like, ever.
Yep. I need actual vestments and not the ad hoc thing that was in the little package. So vestments.
Well, you do know about the path of faith.
Yup.
And,
We have places to go. Come on, Barnabas.
Coming.
and
Also, Barnabas, while we're going,
Mm-hmm.
how much of this city is like home?
It's more like home than anywhere else I've been. I mean, it's not nearly as sprawling, and it's, how to put this? The weird here is like all encompassing. Ravnica has pockets of weird and has pockets of not. It's sort of like a gradient, if it makes sense. But still, it's very, very much like.
Nice. There any particular equivalent preferences that you've found as you've been so far? Like anything that would be like something from home in specific that you were fond of?
I mean, the food here is really, really good. And I can get a decent cup of coffee wherever I want it, as opposed to having to brew it myself. So I'll take that as a win.
And of course, you did have a wonderful time at Basil's Cell.
Oh, yes.
I'm pretty sure I need to get you another barrel of fudge.
You don't need to get me anything. I don't know why you think you have to apologize for something.
I have reasons, but
Considering how badly I've stuck my hoof in my mouth back there with the dwarven wedding thing, and trust me, on Ravnica, dwarven weddings look like an armory. I swear by whatever god you want to talk about. A fancy armory, but an armory.
Yeah, for Hazel, it's just for in Elon, weddings are a celebration of life and growth and renewal, and thus it's in Palor and Sune's remit, but Sune you don't pray to in that kind of situation. You just kind of decorate the place up nicely and hope that that she drops by and casts her blessing upon the place, which is why you've been doing all the fancy.
I mean, around here, wedding, not just here specifically, but just everywhere here on Elon.
Rubbing that. Stop
On
rubbing
Elon
that.
is spell renewal, and a lot of that is, well, it's almost entirely walking in the sun. Same kind of, just sort of a more concentrated expression of who I worship, and there's also a very prominent element of Sune, but that's sort of a more asking for blessing than a direct expression, almost.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what all the deco was on about. That's how do we get Sune's attention as vibrantly and sunnily as possible.
And at this point, you are heading into the path of faith. And as Hazel is talking about Sune, Barnabas notes that there's actually one of those lit up signs that reads "Prayers to Sune." Hazel knows what that is. We can't hear you.
What?
Oh, there you go.
I'm sorry, but why does it say that? What is that for?
Yeah, because that doesn't look like a place of worship exactly.
That's doesn't look like most churches I've ever seen. Mind filling me in?
Well, there's your normal sort of Paloresque and full pantheon sort of shrines and all of that. And then there's Sune's dedications.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't know what Sune is the goddess of. It will occur to Hazel.
DM just quick refresh on.
Yeah, Sune is the goddess of love and beauty. Prayers to Sune is a more direct celebration of the more physical acts of love. Basically, it is a high-end strip club, and if one of the dancers that is taken a fancy to and is wearing a red ribbon around their ankle, also extremely high-end brothel.
It's
Oh.
sort of okay.
Huh.
The last time I encountered anything of this nature was back in Alzor High, and it was very directly explained. So
Mm-hmm.
Sune is love and beauty, all of it. All of it. The physical, too. The very physical. So that's what
Oh.
that's about.
Huh. Interesting.
Very direct dedications that I had a one-to-one explanation of in Alzor High.
Right. Well, yeah, we should probably move on. I don't.
Yeah, but I will just say that you get your vestments and a rather fancier top for Barnabas, and move on to Remi. We've left you alone long enough.
Dun, 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 dun.
Corey and Amel, they're happy to be sort of led around ish, but they clearly had a little time this morning to explore the city, and they try to keep things relatively light by discussing how the bakery is doing, and clearly things are going quite well. The Coterie cupcakes are selling remarkably well.
Remi's quite happy to hear that.
And they stop in an area that it's in the shopping district, but it's a little ways away from where they are. Where this bunch have gone is more fanciful formal wear. The side street that Remi finds herself in with parents is almost more military formal. And Corey points in the window saying, "You see, I thought that would look marvelous on you." And you know that art of Christ, a tangled character in the fancy formal
Kind of.
tunic thing.
Mhm.
You'll have to dig through your
Yeah.
I saw this and it clearly screamed Remi thing,
Mhm.
but it's very deep blue, nearly black, slightly shoulder padded, so it gives a bit of a different line, but it's sleek and simple and fairly military, and apparently you can get it with trousers or a skirt depending on what you want to do, and it's suitably fancy and suitably Remi. Clearly her parents, for all Corey thinks that for all Corey's behavior, she clearly knows her daughter better than it originally appears sometimes.
Remi leans in. That's not what I expected.
We're not going to dress you in some of the wedding dresses you see in the window of that one shop of Bellerate. We know you better than that.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, if on it's your day, we want you to be comfortable. Besides, she fell in love with you. She want you to look like you, not a meringue.
Yes, she would.
Go on, we'll see if we can get it fitted for you. And just nudging you into
Yes.
into the shop. And, yeah, you get if that is what Remi wants to wear, she will get it appropriately fitted, and in usual Egref fashion, they get it done, the alterations done remarkably quickly. So there is plentiful time to get that done and have a moderately leisurely lunch with parents. Probably like the farmer in the dale, because for them that's kind of exotic. Just on the grounds of they haven't really had Goldendale food before. And while they're eating, Mel sort of pipes up with given all things considered, I think it's about time mentioned something. See, I never made much of a fuss about what I did between my schooling and actually taking over the bakery. We didn't want you to think you were following in someone's footsteps or living any life other than your own. But you're older, you have your path in life, and you're secure and happy in it. So, and unbuttons a sleeve, rolls it up, and on the same spot where you wear one, the mark of the brass arrows.
Oh
So yes,
my God, father.
So in case you were wondering, I do know exactly where you met Alice.
Oh.
And Corey's like, well, they do lose far more staff that way than they would have anticipated, don't they? Looks at Remi and grins.
Oh my god. Oh my god. I can't believe you didn't tell me about the brass arrow part.
Again, you were very proud of blazing your own trail.
Yes. Mm.
We didn't want there to be any doubt that you'd made your own choices.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But as I said, you're on your path now, and all things considered, I am quite proud of everything you have accomplished. And now you know exactly what I mean when I say that.
Well, thank you.
So, I think that's pretty much everything out of the family secret box.
I hope so.
Remi.exe has suffered a critical error.
Yeah, that is it. They continue with lunch. Although the thing Corey does say, and I'm sorry, I am trying to understand this. You and all the rest of them got to be a brass arrow, and Alice didn't.
Oh, that was a complicated situation with a different sort of secrets involved.
Well,
We
I
did
have-
only do the whole brass arrow thing with a very singular purpose in mind.
all the same, it's hardly fair.
No,
If I ever meet the governor, I'm going to give her a piece of my mind.
Remi's not saying anything.
Well, she's going to be my daughter now too.
Yeah, well, you know that RSA can and does stand up for herself.
Yes, and so do you, but that doesn't stop me from giving stick to anybody who might be less than fair to you.
Yes, that's true.
I can multitask.
Thank you, Mother.
Amel is just better, Remi, than to try to talk her out of this. You know better than this.
Mm-hmm.
And lunch happens, and I'm sure that but I think it's probably Amel who'd go. I'm sure you have some solo preparations to make for matters, and you could probably use a little bit of time away. But we're still meeting for dinner, all of you.
Yes. She gives him the address of the place.
Oh yes, that interesting place where people were flipping very thin pancakes in the windows. That was interesting. Looking very forward to seeing that actually, and we'll have a wander around. And Corey's like, I've heard there are shops that have interesting runes and devices for cooking and baking. I'm looking very forward to exploring that.
It had been suggested earlier that you might want to look at something called a blender.
Goodness. What will they think of next? And
Just be
one
careful.
one of the waiters is picking up the plates, and obviously Corey and Amel are waving away any attempts that Remi makes for paying for this meal, and the waiter goes, "Oh, our cousin actually runs one of the shops that does this kind of thing. Hang on, I think I have their card somewhere. You go and you look through there, and is also cousin to you know of Hazel Harthard? If you're hanging around with this one."
Ah.
Oh, come on, you guys have been to the farmer in the dale before, so they know that Remi hangs out with. Oh, well, more money going to family, that's fantastic. Yes, so we'll leave you to do your bits of shopping, and we'll see you all for dinner. Wonderful. When you've got out of your seat, it's hugs and kisses all around, and off they go to explore Egref's Magitech wonders. And whatever you wanted to do about looking into the Azamar, etc., we can probably do one-on-one via PM, because that one really doesn't need to be done with an audience the same way lunch with parents does. So if you want to tap me for that, it'll give me something to focus on this week, because this week is weird and I have to talk to the doctor on Tuesday. So anything you can do to cheer me up during that whole bit of mess would be greatly appreciated. And when we come back in 2 weeks' time, we will have the various hen nights and the wedding. And hey, Antheus won't have to miss that one.
Yay.
Great. So there you go. We've managed to successfully stall. I'll see you
And
guys in
mallet
2
the
weeks.
family chaos button a few dozen times.
And the 5 claws attending the
boy.
Featherwind wedding.
Oh my.
Later,
Good
guys.
luck, Darvin!
Bye.